Oh! Hello, fellow film fans. Today I'll be reviewing John M. Chu's film Wicked, which stars Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande and is still in theaters. As usual, this review will contain spoilers. I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. I've grown to appreciate them more in recent years, mainly because my son likes performing in them, but they're still not something toward which I gravitate. I'd heard of the Broadway show for Wicked, but it's so far off of my radar, I'm not sure I knew it had anything to do with The Wizard of Oz. I just never took the time to consider anything about it. That's how little attention I pay to theater. So when I started seeing posters and then ads and then hype for director John Chu's movie adaptation, I paid little attention. I think I assumed in the back of my mind it was part of this revolving door between Broadway and Hollywood, where musicals seem to have become a convenient and lucrative alternative to sequels, cynical, lazy cash grabs in the absence of genuine creativity. Mean Girls, Legally Blonde, Heathers, none of these is crying out to be put to song and dance. Consequently, one of the biggest problems with those examples is the music just never stood out. Never mind that only Mean Girls has seemed to have maintained any cultural relevance. I mention all this because, to the extent I regarded Wicked, I assumed that the story would be as lazy as the music in those others I mentioned. Turns out the story is one of the best things about this movie, and letting it unfold and play with expectations is a joy. A second-generation adaptation of Gregory Maguire's 1995 book, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, the story is ingenious in how it creates a solid character arc for Galinda and a compelling origin story for the Wicked Witch of the West. It begins moments after the emancipation of Oz from the terror reign of said Wicked Witch, with Ariana Grande as Galinda dropping into the scene in her floating bubble to reminisce about the origin of the departed witch. This flashes us back to when Galinda at the time, and the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, first meet. It's on the first day of school at Shiz University, a Harry Potter-esque academy for the magically inclined. Galinda is spoiled and privileged and has enough entitled ambition to put Tracy Flick to shame. Elphaba, who was born with green skin as some kind of curse, for being born out of an affair her mother had with a backdoor man, has magical powers she has trouble reining in when her emotions get too hot. You know, like a green Incredible Hulk. Wait. This might also remind you of Elsa from Frozen.
I said enough!
Though if the movie is faithful to the musical in the book, Elphaba's anger issues came first. Galinda tries to butter up to the headmistress, Madame Morrible, Michelle Yeoh, but the madam is preoccupied with the clear and present powers of Elphaba and takes her under her wing, and so the one-sided rivalry begins. Already, Wicked shows more poignancy and relevance than I expected. At this particular school, Elphaba's powers are a feature, not a bug, but she's ostracized nonetheless because of the color of her skin. The Ruby Bridges undertones in this Ruby Slippers prequel take a deeper dive when we meet one of the school's professors, a kind, talking goat. Through him, we learn that Oz has a growing anti-animalism problem, with Nuremberg-style mandates coming from the government itself that ensure animals who've been scapegoated, see what they did there, for all of Oz's woes are phased out of society. In one of the more powerful moments of Wicked, the professor, no longer allowed to teach, is forcibly escorted out of the room by police mid-lecture. This happens in front of Elphaba, which is significant because it plants the seed of what she'll fight for, bringing out her ferocity as a character and from Cynthia Erivo herself. Erivo's performance alone is worth the price of admission. Her face has a natural gravitas and timelessness to it, adding emotional weight to every scene she's in. This is a much-needed counter to Grande, who comes off like a confused robot.
A bad domain.
But those two can sing. I was aware of Grande's transcendent chops, but with my pop culture ignorance had no idea that Erivo had a bona fide musical background of her own. Before her first notes, as I was marveling in her acting performance, I kept wondering how her singing would be. This was foolish. Not only did she sing powerfully and with real emotion, her voice was a welcome departure from Grande's, who was borderline grating when her songs kept taking her to those higher good witch registers. That, of course, is a problem with the music, not Grande's voice, which is otherwise so good it almost defies comprehension. The music itself was ironically Wicked's weakest link. The soaring, fantastical songs feel more at home in a Disney movie than a Broadway musical, lacking the clever lyrics that seem to express the characters' inner emotions and desires, and especially any diversity.
I'll get a terrace apartment.
Better get rid of your accent.
So much so that few numbers stand out. I did appreciate the duets, mainly because Erivo and Grande seem to have genuine chemistry, though having just rewatched Bad Times at the El Royale, it's fair to assume Erivo would have great chemistry with a sheet of drywall.
Yeah, I must admit, when I see a painting like this, I get emotionally erect.
A highlight of Erivo's performance in the movie itself is when Galinda sets up Elphaba to make a fool out of herself at a ballroom dance. Elphaba is unfazed and begins a unique, almost mystical dance, leaving her peers giggling and speechless. Galinda realizes she went too far and sidles up to Elphaba, joining her in the awkward dance. Soon enough, the whole club is doing it. As predictable and trite as this scene is, Erivo's stoicism elevates it. One other aspect of Wicked that was disappointing was the picture itself. Few moments in movie history are as memorable and iconic as when Dorothy first opens the door of her cottage, transporting her from the gloomy sepia world to the unbelievably vibrant Oz. I expected the same or more from Wicked, but instead the colors looked flat and undersaturated. When they show the expansive landscapes with colored rows of agriculture and a certain brick road, the colors don't come close to that Technicolor pop of the original film from nearly 100 years ago. Even the school is mostly beige and boring, aside from the pinks in Galinda's room and wardrobe. On top of that, the picture follows the recent unfortunate trend in blockbuster-type movies to overload us with artificial sunlight blasting into the frame, along with the requisite fake lens flares and overdone amber hues. The result looks more like a video game than a film, and it should go without saying that most of the interior shots are underexposed. See Nosferatu. I find these elements so distracting and unappealing that they make me not want to sit through the movie. See Nosferatu. Thankfully, the story has enough unexpected turns in character development, and Erivo is so enthralling to watch, that the movie doesn't quite feel as long as it is, and even has me curious to see what happens in part 2. So, those are my thoughts on Wicked. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like. If you like my channel's content, please feel free to subscribe. If you have anything to say, please drop a comment. I'll try to respond to everybody. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.